But what they do is they charge an interest rate on the on that money. And the reason for that is that they're providing training services to the borrowers, they're providing emotional support services, transportation, driving all the way out to their village, obtaining their repayment every month and bringing it back. So that's how they cover their operational costs.
But the MFI nonprofits for.
So they are for-profit institutions, but most of them are operationally in the hole. So they're actually nonprofits, which is it's very important for them to scale. So which is why it's important that we're getting involved, because if you have 2,000 borrowers, just imagine it that you have one loan manager, they're traveling 6 hours out to a village, and they're servicing 6 clients, as opposed to, and then coming back. The cost of that trip isn't covering the money that they brought back. But if they're traveling out to that village and they're covering 600 users, or I'm sorry, it would be about 100 borrowers, and then they're coming back, the cost of that trip is covered. So it's really important that they scale up.
So you're helping, by funneling capital in, you're helping increase the profit of these MFIs, and then they can use that profit to scale their side.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then we're growing our field partners. We want to have 4 by the end of year 1, and we're further developing our website, the Learn and the Connect tab. So thus far, we've established a network of microfinance players. All these organizations know who we are, and we have contacts with them. And then our China players, we know the whole China microfinance community as well, and they know who we are, which is a good network to have as you start to go into this. And then this is kind of the exciting development for us, who we want to be tomorrow. And this has really been more of a retrospective look at Wokai for both Casey and I over the past year or two, and really seeing what Wokai has become and what it has the potential to do. So we think that we can become Asia Society 2.0, and I'll explain to you what I mean by that. So we think of why do people like Wokai? What are all of our volunteers? They like Wokai not because of microfinance. They like Wokai because of China. They're interested in reconnecting with China, whether they be Chinese or not. People are interested in volunteering in our organizations because they somehow want to connect to China, want to become more interested in China, or interested in green initiatives or poverty alleviation, or just connecting with your everyday Joe in China. So how can people connect to China now? If we look at the philanthropic landscape for China, you can really split it into two pies. One, you have big organizations. You have the Asia Societies and the Asia Foundation. And you have these smaller grassroots nonprofits that are going after various initiatives, rural education, green initiatives, healthcare, human rights. But they're usually working on a project-by-project basis, raising money over in the States, bringing it over to China for a year, and then using that to go after their initiative, and then coming back and doing the same thing. So they're raising money and then bringing it back over. So what's the problem with these? Big organizations, they lack transparency. If I give $25 to Asia Society, I can't see where it's going. They lack personalization. If you've ever gone to any Asia Society or Asia Foundation event, it's a big ordeal. It has an aging donor base. Most of the donors are large family donors and institutions, not individuals. And then if we look at grassroots nonprofits, what's the problem with those? Most of them aren't sustainable. I can count on my hand the number of people I know that have started nonprofits in China and they haven't gone anywhere after 5 years. Most of these grassroots nonprofits aren't connected. So this past spring, we held an event that was with a friend of ours who's in a Chinese networking organization, and it was called, it was for All Asia Philanthropies. And so this was for China nonprofits as well as other nonprofits across Asia. And most of these organizations had never talked before. And it was really, really amazing that so many people that are kind of focusing on the same geography had never gotten in contact and decided to have groupthink and think about, okay, how can we all reach out to our donors as a group? So they're not connected. They also lack a lot of transparency. They don't have a website where you can see where their money's going. Usually they send you photos or send you a newsletter about what they're doing, but you don't have immediate transparency that's available on Wokai. And most of them are targeting individual donors, and it's individual donors over and over and over again. So by year 3 of giving a couple $1,000s from an organization, you don't really see where it's going. It's really draining the relationships on those donors. So how is Wokai different? We're different in a number of ways. One, we're transparent. You can see where your money is at any point in time. You'll be able to see where it is in the process, whether it's in transit from the U.S. to China, whether it's being allocated to a field partner, or whether it's actually with the end recipient. We're also young. We have a young group of people, 75 people that are involved, and more people that are wanting to get involved. We're also open to all donors. We work with individuals who just want to give $25, and we also allow group profiles for people who want to give $150 or more. And we're scalable. Wokai has a chapter network that it's established with 3 chapters thus far, but we've had interest in Boston as well as other cities around the world, and we're seeing that as a chapter network, we're actually already kind of paralleling an Asian society. And then our website, that's really kind of the key to our organization, is that you can add more and more field partners to the website. It doesn't change the cost of your technology. You've already built the pipeline. So what that means is that Wokai has created a pipeline for connecting back to China. And we're thinking, where could this go? So we believe that the pipeline can reach more industries than just microfinance. So first application could be microfinance, but other applications could be education, green initiatives, healthcare, as well as human rights. I have a friend who runs an educational nonprofit in rural China, and the first thing she said to me when I was talking to her about Wokai is that, oh my God, it's so hard for us to fundraise. It would be great if we could use your platform to access your same user base, because they're people who want to connect back to China, and we have kids who need books for school. Could we put them on your website? Similar with the green initiative, there's an individual who I met when I was speaking down in Monterey, and he has started an entire organization around raising money for straw balers. Straw balers are big machines that cost $6,000, and they bale straw. What do people use those straw for? They build houses out of straw. The reason that's important is that the amount of carbon emissions that come off your home are 1/4 the amount if your home is built out of straw. It's also much more thermally efficient. So it's a lot warmer for people in colder climates. So he's right, but these a lot of these rural areas can't afford $6,000 for a straw baler, and he has no idea where to go to find people that want to give money to a straw baler for China. But he was saying, well, when you launch your website, it would be great if we could put our straw balers up there and have people give money for a straw baler. Similar with healthcare, there's many people who have campaigns for AIDS awareness, and then human rights. I have 2 or 3 friends. I have 2 friends that have nonprofits in Tibet for actually Tibetan youth and raising awareness about some of the issues that they're dealing with education and property rights. So how it would work? Wokai would work with local field partners to distribute contributions, just as we're doing in our microfinance model. We'd work with the institution, and they would distribute it to the end recipient. The way we would have to do that is that we would choose star field partners in each of those industries I mentioned. And then we would establish a P2P system that worked with the field partner operations. As I said, the people who are focusing on rural education, we could do a child and you would be able to buy her books for the year. We would be able to do a straw baler for 1 town in rural China, and so on and so forth. Then we would trade the field partner on the Wokai system, and then audit the field partner biannually to ensure transparency, which is what we do with our microfinance institutions now. Why is this good for Wokai? It's good for Wokai because the microfinance sector in China is actually fairly limited. Our field partners, as I said before, can only grow at a certain rate, and of the qualified field partners in China that we would want to work with, there's only about 8 or 10. So that leaves us kind of after year 2 not really having a place to grow to. And the microfinance sector in China is very government dominated. There will always be China microfinance through government banks. Mostly the China Postal Bank and the China Development Bank, which are running downscaling programs now. But there are going to be areas where they just will not go after, which is what we're targeting with these really kind of far off rural areas that are left behind. But it's limited, there's only a certain number, and we don't expect that to grow at a rapid rate over time. Also, we have a limited user base. Not all of our volunteers or users are interested in microfinance. They like our platform because they can connect to China. So why should we polarize them and only focusing on microfinance? We should open up to other interests that they're interested in. And then limited content. By year 2, year 3, year 4, that you're seeing the same people in the same rural areas with the same, they're buying goats, or they're starting a jiaozi stand, or they're starting a shuiguodian. It gets, the content on your site gets old. So by adding on new industries, we're allowing more diversity. And this is good for China because we're allowing for collaboration amongst all of our field partners. So many microfinance institutions are also interested in rural education and in healthcare. A lot of these rural areas are dealing with many issues, so why not have groupthink and put them in contact with each other, especially when they're winners within the industry. And then we're also promoting just discussions and collaboration within industries. And lastly, our contributors. As I gave the example of the event that we held with other Asia-focused nonprofits, we don't all know each other, and it would be great to have a platform where we can connect with each other. So people that are focused on China, whether it be rural education or green initiatives, they should be able to talk and figure out a way to raise money, because it's all basically